Well, we're going to do, you can see the time. We got about 10 or 12 minutes, and that's kind of the way it is every Wednesday night. And we don't apologize for that because we believe in this number that the fellowship is probably as valuable and as strengthening as anything else we do. So we're pleased by that. But we've been trying to take our lessons out of the book of Hebrews. And you may remember that we have said that the book of Hebrews is about a group of people who have become part of the kingdom, and yet they have let life happen to them. By that I mean life just gets busy, we get distracted, and we hit hard times or difficult times, or we hit fun times, whatever it is, and we tend to go back to the way we were. And that's what's happening with these people. And so we noted last week in the beginning part of chapter 2 that this idea of drift. Most of the time we don't just bail out of a marriage, and most of the time we just don't bail out of a school, or most of the time we just don't bail out of a church setting. We kind of drift away slowly. And so the writer of the book of Hebrews, we have no idea who the writer is. A lot of people like to think it's Paul, but it's not important. Remember, if it's plain, it's important. If it's important, it's plain. And it's just not plain, and so it makes no difference who the writer is. God is the author of all this book. The author is going to try to spend his time really through the entire book telling us, but especially the first 9 chapters, that the gift of Jesus is the most precious gift we can possibly have. Why would you give up Jesus and go back to something else? And so he's been talking in chapter 1. He continues that again for a while in chapter 2, saying that Jesus is greater than angels. And as has been pointed out by Burke especially, that was a big deal back in that day and time. To be able to say to the Jewish people especially that Jesus is greater than angels meant something. Well, I have 10 minutes, and I have 2 verses that take at least an hour to go through. And but I want you to see what these are saying, because they're so powerful. I want you to read in verse 10, chapter 2, and that's, again, he's been talking about Jesus being greater than angels, but he said, in bringing many sons to glory, it was fitting that God, for whom and through whom everything exists, should make the author of their salvation perfect through suffering. Now, who's the author of salvation?
Jesus.
Jesus is the author of salvation. He became the author of salvation by that which he, remember what Scripture says? By that which he suffered. And I don't want to get bogged down here, so something more important I want to say, I think, but Jesus didn't have to suffer. He could have stopped it. And I'm telling you for a fact, I don't like to suffer. I don't like any kind of pain. I had to spend the morning this morning with an attorney dealing with daddy's stuff, and then Mitch and Audrey had to go to Amarillo. He wanted me to go out and feed 2 sets of cattle, and that feed truck didn't have an air conditioner. I had the window down. I was driving across through Bermuda grass, and the wind was blowing, and then that stuff I was putting out of the cake box was blowing stuff on me. And when I got back, my head felt like it was swelled up and so forth. And I thought, I don't like this. I like to feel good. This is not right. Cal should have been doing it, not me. And Cal usually does it. I don't know why I did it today. But anyway, we don't like to suffer. Jesus didn't have to suffer. And yet he was obedient completely to what God had planned, what he had planned from the very beginning, and therefore he became the author of eternal salvation. Now, I want you to look at this. But if the one who makes men holy and those who are made holy are of the same family. Now, the reason why it takes so long is I frequently, and I used to do it more often, would stand before you on Sunday mornings, and I'd say that God is what? Holy. God is holy. God is perfect. And I would say to you that there is nothing else on all the earth that is holy except God. And the only way anything else can become holy is that God makes it to be holy. This is so important that it ought to be mentioned at least once a month, really. God is holy, and there is absolutely nothing that exists in our world that is holy unless God chooses to make it holy. And so we all remember the story of Moses seeing that bush that's on fire, and probably not all that uncommon to look up on the side of a mountain and see something on fire, but what really intrigued him was that this bush just kept burning. It would not go away. And so he decides to go see about it. When he gets there, he hears words coming out of this bush that says, "Take off your sandals, because why?"
Holy ground.
It's holy ground. How did the ground become holy?
God's presence.
Was it a different color ground or what? No, God made it holy. And all through time, God would make things holy. And in the Old Testament, he made a people to be holy. They were called the Hebrew people, the descendants of Abraham. In the New Testament, there is no such thing as holiness except that God make people to be holy. And how did he make people to be holy? By whom?
Jesus.
By sending Jesus. By sending Jesus. And by purchasing us when we didn't deserve to be purchased. He made us holy. And so Peter will write words like, you're a chosen people. We like to talk about you're a peculiar people, but that does apply to some of you, by the way. But Ricky's kind of peculiar without that long beard, you know. And so, but you are also a holy nation, he says. You're a holy people. The only way we can be made holy is that God make us to be holy. Now, that is really, really significant. And this writer brings it up really in one verse and sums this all up for us. The one who made us holy and the one who is holy, what's he say here? But if the one who makes men holy and those who are made holy are of the same, what? Family. Now, that is just so special, because he's saying to these people who are thinking about giving up, wait a minute, you became a part of literally became part of the family of God. You've been chosen to be a part of God's family. Now, in general terms, what does that mean? Now, I say in general because I know for a fact, and it's more so today than maybe ever before in our history, at least the way it feels to me. I know some people don't have good family experiences. Everybody see that? There are some people who don't have good family experiences. And I suspect of those who are educators, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4, maybe more, probably see that more than anybody else as young people come through the school system. And you can see how they've been not taken care of or whatever. In fact, I don't know how. I could never be a teacher. I could never be in that environment. I don't think I could handle it emotionally. But for the most part, how do we feel about our families? We love them. And for the most part, we like to be around them. Now, I'm talking about my immediate family. I'm not talking about my wife's family. You know, I try to make that clear so people know I'm not lying. Okay? But we like to be around family, don't we? We like to think about them. And I could use several illustrations about that personally, that about how we think about family members even when they're gone. We like to be around family. It's special. And we get to be a part of God's family. We're connected. So that as a father right now, am I more than willing to do things for my children at my expense? And the answer is absolutely yes. Yes. And is it my job as a father to work for the good of my children constantly? That's the definition of leadership given in Esther chapter 10 and verse 3, the last verse of the book of Esther. That's what God is doing for us constantly right now. He wants our good. He works for our good. He's on our side. And we're going to find that in our study of the book of Romans within 3 weeks, maybe sooner. We're going to find God telling us exactly that. And so here we are being told in one verse that the Holy One makes us holy, and now we're all part of a family. Why in the world would you want to bail out on that? Now, if I didn't have a good father, if I had a father that beat me all the time, or a father that abused me all the time, or a father that stole from me all the time, I might be in a hurry to get away. But if I have a father who loves me and takes care of me and wants to do everything good for me, why would I want to get away? And the author of this book is saying, don't you understand what you got? You got the best situation in the world. You've been adopted in to the family of God, and in God's mind, adopted in and born in are no different. He looks at you and you and you the same way he looks at Jesus in that respect. So why would anybody want to walk away? And yet, as we'll find later, Satan gets involved, and Satan does all kinds of things to get us to drift away. But anyway, our time's up.